Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Community Church online experience. We're so glad that you're joining here with us today. Today's going to be a little bit different.
It's a little different because we are in El Salvador, not
Yep.
right now, but when you're going to see this.
Yeah.
And so we're on our missions trip with our church group.
Mhm.
And this video is being played online and also in the auditorium so that everyone gets the same content. So don't miss us too much, but we will be back the following Sunday.
Yep.
But we are really excited to continue our series, Right Between Us.
Yes.
That feels like right between us. Like we should sing a song,
We're
but I
so
don't
far
sing.
away. So far away.
No.
No, that's not the right one.
So Right Between Us is our series that we're in right
Yeah.
now.
So we just want to say hey to
And-
everybody that's in service right now. We love you guys. We cannot wait to be back with you. Next week, we're going to be sharing all about our missions trip. So we won't be having an online experience next week, but we will be in service having our Mission Sunday. So we're going to be sharing all about what God did for our missions trip that we're currently on right now, but not
actually
right now.
today.
But when you watch this, we will be. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm confusing myself right now.
Time is challenging.
Time is challenging. So we wanted to share a little bit. Today, we're going to be talking all about relationships from a romantic perspective.
Yes.
And the reason that we're not saying marriage specifically is because we know that there are people that are dating, and
Yeah.
there are people that want to date, and there are people that that maybe don't want to date, right? So like, it's important that we also address the single people
Right.
because
all the single ladies.
oh,
Too much.
Yeah,
we
look-
can't pay for that song, so don't.
yeah. So yeah,
Don't
we're
use
not
that.
paying for that. But it's also important to address singleness because Paul does. The Bible talks about
Yeah.
singleness. In fact, in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 7:7, Paul specifically says he wished that everybody could be single, right? Like, but for some people are just called to celibacy, and that's okay. But don't like. You don't have to be in a romantic relationship. And that's something we used to talk about all the time to teenagers, right?
Yeah. I mean, learning principles about relationships is going to be useful in all of your relationships.
Yeah.
So some of the things that we're talking about are geared towards romantic relationships,
Mhm.
but honestly, there's still good communication tools for
Right.
friendships and
Yeah.
coworkers. And some of the stuff that we're going to talk about how difficult romantic relationships can be in certain seasons of life.
Yeah.
For all the single people, you just get to like enjoy being single and not dealing with having a person with their own unique set of personality traits in your house. So like,
I feel like that was a shot.
It
was
really
directed.
wasn't a shot.
It kind of was. You kind of pointed a little bit
I'm just really trying to encourage the single people that
that they don't have to deal with me.
there's some great pieces to being single. So, and I think of like,
Yeah.
there's some famous people in history in the
Yeah.
Bible also that were single and did amazing things for
Paul
God.
was.
And had the freedom and the flexibility to do
Yeah.
those things. And so being single is a calling just like anything else. And it is a wonderful way for God to use you. So if
100%.
God's called you to be single, then you're going to still be able to grab some of these communication tools and use them in any area of your life. So don't check out right now.
No.
It is still important even
Yeah.
to relate to people around you in a better
Well, because
way.
the big thing that we're going to be talking about today is needs, right?
Yeah.
And people have needs. We all have
Regardless.
needs,
Yeah.
regardless if you're in a relationship or not. So, but today we're going to be kind of zeroing in on the marriage, on the romantic relationships, and romantic relationships are hard.
Yeah, they definitely can be. I will say, Jacob and I's personalities, if you don't know us really well personally, our personalities are a little intense.
Is that the word you want to use?
I don't really know what word, but I'm going to go with intense.
I like it. I like intense though.
So we
I
tend
embrace it.
to have very intense conversations.
Yeah.
Some personalities that are a little bit more reserved have maybe not had some of the struggles that we've had.
Yeah.
Because they're not as intense.
Maybe not as vocal, or
As
maybe not
vocal,
as
opinionated.
opinionated. That's a great word to put because
Yeah.
we've just to be clear about this, we've never actually like yelled at each other. That's never been a part of.
I don't think we have.
No,
yeah.
we never have. Well, that's just because
Very strong.
we've had some
sentences,
strong, yes,
not raising our
strong
voice.
sentences. Yes, we've had some strong interactions.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. We're
But
intense.
we are intense, but we've never yelled at each other because there is a level of love that I need you to make sure. I need to make sure for you that I never make you feel belittled and I never
Yeah.
make you feel insignificant or less than, because
Right.
you have a very, very strong leadership gift. And if I were to try to diminish that, it makes you less of a person. And I never want you to feel that way.
Right.
Then I think, and I think I can speak for you on this, you never want me to feel unrespected or less respected. And you've always tried so hard to honor me. And so like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to communicate differently. But before we jump into any of this, there is one thing that I want to make sure that everyone understands that leads up to all of this.
Yeah.
Before we get to any of this, we've been talking a whole lot about relationships and show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's kind of been like our theme, and that doesn't really apply. It can apply to marriages and relationships, but what I need everyone to understand, and you and I have worked really hard on this. We haven't always been good at it, but we've worked really hard on it, is that we always defer to each other's needs.
Yeah.
That's always been something that well, it's something that we didn't always realize, but now we know, okay, if I want the most out of my wife, I've got to make sure her needs are met.
Right.
And if and Grace knows, if again, I'm intense, so if if she wants a reserved version of me, that my needs need to be met. And so as we get into this, we're going to share a little bit, because I don't know if you've ever heard this. I'm sure everybody's heard this, but like when somebody introduces their significant other, they always say, well, I'd like you to meet my better half. And it's cute, you know, that the intention is to say, oh, this person is way better than me. And I, you know, I defer to them or whatever the intention is, but that's actually not biblical at all. And I want to read a passage of scripture in Genesis chapter 2, verse 22 and 23, verses 23 and 24. It says this: Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib, and he brought her to the man. At last, the man exclaimed, This one is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman because she was taken from man. So it's not actually half.
Right.
You're not half. God actually designed this to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
So like, what does that look? What do you think that looks like?
Well, it's a little math.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're talking about is that it's not half of me, half of you equals a whole marriage. It's really, I'm bringing my whole self to the relationship. You're bringing your whole self to the relationship.
Right.
And we are now two that have become one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make maybe mathematical sense in that way, but God has called us to be one whenever we're in that sort of marriage relationship. And so, but we have to bring a whole person. And the reason's because if we're going into a marriage or into a relationship looking for our identity, looking for purpose, like if I need him to complete me, you know, that's that very famous line, like, you complete me.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for that in him, he is a human and he will fail and disappoint me just like I will fail and disappoint him. And so if me being complete is contingent on him, then there will always be something lacking, because that's not the way God designed me.
So good.
That piece to be complete is designed to be filled by God. And as wonderful as my husband is, he's no match for God filling, you know, that place of identity and purpose.
Yeah.
So
and God didn't create marriage to be one man, one woman. He actually created marriage to be one man, one woman, and one God. This relationship can only reach its true potential. Any relationship can only meet its true potential when God is the center of it.
yeah.
And so including God in everything that you do is one of the main things that we look at. But today we want to address some needs, right? There's basic needs that we have as men and women, and we're going to talk about a couple of those today. So men's needs, women's needs, and we're not going to get, you know, super crass or super descriptive on anything today, but I do want to address some of these things. So Babe, what are some of the key needs that that every woman has?
Well, we're like Jacob said, we're going to touch on a couple. We know this is not an extensive
Right.
list. So you may be like, well, they didn't mention this, and this is one of my top ones. That's fair. And you have the right to have different ones than we're talking about.
Yeah.
These are basic overviews. So that's what we're going to try to hit, is just kind of some general ones. And the first one would be security. And I think that this is kind of universal, men and women, but it is a big deal for women to have security in their lives. And
Yeah.
so it's something that that their partner needs to be aware of and
Right.
needs to, again, they can't be all of their security, but
Mhm.
they can be aware and intentional with what they provide. And so it's emotional security.
Mhm.
I would say this one is the hardest one for men to provide.
100%.
Because it takes listening and slowing down and not fixing it necessarily. It takes creating a safe place for a woman to share her needs, share her emotions,
Mhm.
share her dreams, her fears. Um, not all women are external processors.
Right.
So some may be. I'm an external processor.
Yes, you
So
are.
whenever I talk to Jacob and say, hey, I need to talk to you about something, I'm going to give him 30,000 words where probably 3,000 would do, because I need to process it out loud while I'm talking to him.
Mhm.
And we'll get to this a little bit later, but while I'm talking, I'm not asking him to fix all the things I'm saying. I'm
Right.
just needing a safe place to express what I'm feeling. Some women are internal processors and they are not going to respond like I do. They won't give you 30,000 words, but they will give you a very thoughtful few hundred words
Yeah.
of what they're feeling. And you have been given, as their partner, the honor of being in a safe place with them and hearing the deepest, most precious pieces of their needs.
Mhm.
So it is a privilege, and
It
that's
is.
how you have to consider it.
Yeah.
Not always easy, or
No.
usually not easy, maybe I should say.
No, it's not. Well,
but important.
it is super important, and the reason it's so difficult usually for men is because we're taught not to don't think about your feelings, push
Right.
past your feelings. You got to be tough, you got to be strong, and so many of us are not. We're not feelings people, right?
Right.
Most of the men in the room right now or watching online, you're not going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm in touch with my sensitive side," or I know my emotions. The fact of the matter is we're taught not to. We're taught to avoid emotions so that we can be strong and so that we can provide or whatever. And part of our job is to provide some physical security, right? So like a place to live and financial needs that our family has, or a vision and a plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's our job, is to come up with some security like that.
Yeah, and it's really important. This is where we need a whole individual
Right.
to come into the relationship, because as a woman, if I come in and I have some financial plans and I have some ideas and I have some dreams and vision for what I want to see in my family, and then Jacob comes in as a whole individual, and he also, then we get to partner together to make
Mhm.
that happen,
Yeah.
which propels you even further. So this is not, we're not trying to get old school, like the woman has to stay home and have dinner ready
No.
and the man but it is very important for you to be on the same page and talking
Mhm.
through this,
Yeah.
and understanding that these are important needs for women.
Yeah. And I think the main thing for men is just to be there and be fully there. I'll say that. So if your wife is having a rough day, or if you feel, all right, man, this is what it is. Okay. We're just going to talk.
I'm ready for this.
We're going to talk directly to it. Y'all know exactly what it means when your wife comes in, or you walk into the house after a busy day at work or whatever. You feel it. Something's off. Based on her body language, based on her tone of her voice, the words that she says, how she says what she says, you just know. Now, 90% of us, me included, we'll just be like, all right, I'm avoiding this at all costs. Like we gotta avoid. But to be secure enough in yourself to be able to say, hey, babe, what's wrong? Like something's wrong. Do you feel you're in a place to be able to have this conversation right now? And to allow her to fully explain everything. And we're going to get to some communication things in a little bit, but to be present in that moment with her. Don't be on your phone. Don't be watching the game. Don't be, if you're doing something, stop what you're doing and focus in on her. And I'm just telling you, that makes a world difference.
Yeah.
So I think making sure that you are there for her emotional security, I think is a big deal.
Yeah. And I mean, that even goes to a love language of quality time.
Yeah.
And the second thing that women need, we talked first about the security aspect, but the second thing that women need is affection.
Yeah.
And affection can come in a lot of different ways. And classically, we joke about this, and everyone that knows me jokes about it, that I am not a physical touch type person.
No, that's not true.
I will give a hug if you need a hug, but just know it's for you, not for me. So I love you if I hug you, because it is not doing anything for me except that I just love you. So I'm not a physical touch person, but I am a quality time person. So when he walks in the house and he can sense that mood, if he comes in and is in it with me, that means a world to me.
Yeah.
It also can go for acts of service, which is another love language. And so sometimes the reason I'm in that mood is because I have too much going on and I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I saw a funny video the other day that was like, why do women treat their houses like hotels? And when you walk in, they're like, what are you doing? You should be doing something. And then the guy goes out into the shed and sees his dad just banging a hammer on something. And he's like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. I'm just doing something. Like, that's kind of what I feel like sometimes. Like, and that's obviously a joke. And I'm not saying all guys are like that or by any means. But sometimes whenever that mood hits, it's a vibe, as my children would say.
It's vibrations happening.
It's a lot. And it's usually because I need help. And I don't always vocalize that. So acts of service, helping me with something, that goes a long way. And it's Valentine's week. It's actually Valentine's Day today.
Yeah, it is.
When
happy
we're
Valentine's
recording
Day,
this.
babe.
Thanks, you too.
Also, happy birthday to my mom. Today's my mom's birthday.
We got all the
Gwen
events.
Eve, thank you so much. Love you. Happy birthday.
We love you, Mimi.
Love you, Mimi.
And so physical touch is a love language. That one goes both ways. Obviously, guys have that need. Girls have that need. And sometimes physical touch for me is rarely, but sometimes I just need a hug.
Yeah.
Not maybe from anyone else. So sorry, not trying to be offensive, but sometimes I'm just at home and I'm just like had a rough day and I just need a hug.
Yeah.
And so
I love to give them.
Yeah. And then he's like, I love warm hugs.
Yeah.
And so we talked about acts of service, quality time, gifts is another one. Today's a great day to give gifts.
Yeah. And that's one thing that, you and I, it's like today's Valentine's Day. This is not really like a special day for us.
No, I wore pink just to be festive.
Yeah, I didn't.
Not festive.
But yeah. But like gifts are not really.
That's not one of our bigger.
Neither one of us have that as a love language, but it doesn't mean. So like sometimes the gift is actually a words of affirmation thing, where if your partner is words of affirmation, then you give them a gift, but make sure that there's a handwritten note on it saying, hey, this is what. If you're a gifts person, you just love to gifts. Amelia's like that. Amelia loves gifts. Giving, she likes giving gifts like quite a bit.
Well, I had to go to Walmart the night before Valentine's to get Valentine's for her to give her classmates.
Right.
Because she loves to give gifts.
She's always been that way.
Always. And so words of affirmation is a big one. And especially it is a big deal for women. But it, again, goes both ways.
Yeah.
And so like Jacob is words of affirmation at certain times, especially.
Yeah.
And one thing about the words of affirmation is that it's important to remember is that you are either going to build someone up with those words or you're going to tear them down.
Yeah.
And so you're going to build up the person you want to be married to, or you're going to tear down the person that you have to be married to.
That's so good, babe.
And it's on you. It's your choice. And so if someone that you love, whether it's in marriage, in your family, and your relationships with friends, if they're words of affirmation, then remember every time you're having a conversation, those words are carrying a lot of weight. So
Definitely.
be wise about them.
Yeah, that's so good. And you know, communication is also a big need for women in general.
Yeah.
Communication is not a very big need for men. You know, we communicate in grunts and activities, you know, through doing things together. That's how we build relationships. But for women, communication is so important.
Yeah. And this is one of our biggest topics that we
Yes.
talk about.
Yeah.
Communication, like we said, whether you're single, married, dating, working, or near people on the earth, like literally in any situation, communication is so
It
important.
really is.
And so a couple of things, men, we kind of touched on it. Men are kind of wired generally. These are all general statements. So please know that we're not trying to stick anybody in a box.
Yeah.
But in general, men are wired to fix things.
hmm
And that's not always the need.
No, it's not because I again, it kind of goes back to what we talked about a little bit ago, where men, our job sometimes, most of the time, is not to fix the issues that you feel like your significant other has. Your job is just to listen. So when she's telling you about her rough day, how the kids were frustrating, how they didn't want to wake up, how they
That's not a specific example.
that is absolutely a specific example. But how the problems at work are just rough and they're having just a rough day. Your job is not to sit there. Well, don't tell her this, and we'll do this, and we'll punch the kids, and you know, no, don't say that. Okay, my bad. It's important for us to just be there.
Yeah.
Just be there and listen. Say,
Yeah.
sweetheart, I'm so sorry you had such a rough day, and that's it. Like there's nothing else to. Sometimes you just need to be there.
Yeah.
Say, man, that sucks.
Right. And women, we have a part responsibility in this as well. And something we learned, you know, a long time ago, and it has changed the game on relationship communication. I usually know when I have an issue that I need help solving or when I just need to vent in a safe place.
Yeah.
And so typically I have an idea of what I'm trying to get accomplished. You know, let out some steam or like strategize and brainstorm. And so that's how I start the conversation. Hey, I need your help figuring out what to do about this. Or, hey, my day was really rough and I just want to complain for a little bit. And that's exactly how I say it.
Yeah.
And he knows she's just venting. She
Mhm.
doesn't need advice. And then sometimes, like I said, I'm an external processor. So sometimes that conversation gets long and Jacob's very patient with me. And at the end, maybe we've moved to a whole new topic and then he'll offer, do you want some help fixing it or do you feel good with it? And then he, you know, gives that opportunity if I want his help. And if I feel good about it, then we can just move on. If I say, you know what? Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it that way. Let's figure out how to solve this.
Yeah.
Then he's very present and available to help.
Yeah, because fellas, we're built to try to fix things, especially whenever it's someone that we love, right? If it's our significant other, if it's our spouse, we want to help fix their problems just because we love them and we don't want them to be upset. We don't want them we don't want them to be in pain at all. We want to, if we can fix a problem, we want to fix it. But communicating, helping your husband, ladies, helping your husband know what you need in that moment, whether it's you want a solution or you want to just be heard. You've got to communicate that. And sometimes they don't always know, and that's okay. I mean, give grace where it needs to be. Give some space for them to be able to just let them vent for a little bit. And then by the time they're finished venting, it's usually like, okay, now I either know I just needed you to listen to me, or I need a solution now.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes back to the power of our words.
Right.
The power of our words are so important. Ephesians 4:29-32 says this: do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you.
Mm.
And so that goes back to what we said earlier, the power of your words. You're
Yeah.
either building the person up or you're tearing them down, but regardless, you're with them.
Right.
So it's so important. They had a study by like a prestigious Ivy League school that had plants in the same environment. And in one environment, they spoke positive words to the plants. And in the other environment, they spoke horrible things to them. And this is real. You can look it up. Not making it up. Sounds like I'm making it up.
Wow.
And the positive words, the plants flourished.
Wow.
And so while we all need certain things, we all have certain needs. One of the most powerful ones is the words that are
Wow.
spoken over us and that we speak over others.
That's so true though. How we speak what we speak matters. And let's just be honest here. In any relationship, if it's a romantic, well, we're going to speak specifically on romantic relationships right now, but in relationships, conflicts come.
Yeah.
They come. There's going to be fights.
Yeah.
We call them
Heated disagreements.
heated engagements,
intense sentences.
Elevated conversations.
There
We
you
call
go.
them a couple of different things. But there's going to be fights that
Yeah.
happen. And in any healthy relationship, you have to learn to fight fair.
Yeah.
And I remember there was early on in our marriage, both of us are incredibly competitive.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't need to. I know what I'm talking about. But we're both incredibly competitive. We both played sports in high school. We both just everything we did, we always competed. And in our marriage in the early days, we competed with each other
Yeah.
to see who would win the fight. You know, oh, if we got a disagreement, okay, then I'm going to come at you with everything I've got, and I'm gonna win this thing.
It was more about winning than resolving.
100%. And we learned over the past 13, 14 years of us being married, how to fight fair. So we got a
Yeah.
couple of practical things we can share.
Yeah.
Number one, check your motivation. Check your motivation. Will your words help or hurt? Will bringing this up bring a positive outlook on the situation, or will it cause more pain? So like you have to know be aware of your motivation. If you just want to win,
Right.
then that's not a good enough motivation to keep fighting. Number two, check your attitude. Loving confrontation says, I care about you. I respect you. I want oneness. I want wholeness. I want you to respect me. I want to know how you feel. That's important. Don't hop on your bulldozer to run somebody over. You know, be mindful of that.
Mhm.
What is your attitude saying? Number three, check your circumstances. My gosh, context is king.
Yeah.
Like if you're just getting home from work and your wife just comes straight at you with all of her problems for that day, it's probably not a good idea to let her know about herself. It's just not. If you see your husband coming home from a hard day, ask him how his day is. Give him some time to maybe decompress a little bit from, I know there were seasons of my life, whenever I got home from work, I was like, babe, I can't talk right now.
Mm-hmm.
Please, can you just watch the kids for a little bit? I just need a little bit of time to decompress, because it was stressful. Like my job was stressful. Everything was just stressful. It wasn't a good time to bring up, you know, the issues that you had. And so we've kind of worked on things like that. What are some other things that we've used to fight fair?
Yeah. You also have to, you have to take notice of what pressures they may be under.
Right.
So, you know, there's a time and a place, obviously, for everything, but being sensitive to what's going on in their life right now.
Yeah.
And so for, you know, say for a mom of small children,
Mm-hmm.
being aware that if they've been home with their kids all day and haven't talked to an adult all day,
Yeah.
that is a situation that's going to cause it to be very hard for them to have that conversation without some prep.
Right.
time.
Right.
And same examples that you gave. If your spouse has been at work all day, if you know that they're going through a rough season, if they feel attacked at work,
Yeah.
then if you bring something difficult to them at home, it could cause them to feel attacked at home.
Right.
So it's just being aware and sensitive. And if you're coming from a place of pure intent and motivation and for resolution, then you're going to take those things into consideration.
Yeah.
Another thing is to listen to your spouse.
Yeah, we've touched on that.
Listen to be understood, not listen to respond.
Yes.
So hard to do.
It is so hard to do, especially
it's natural instinct.
Especially when you're competitive, because you're like,
Yes.
oh no, you just said something. I want to rebuttal. Like I want to give it back.
Take in everything that you're saying so that I know exactly how to respond in the best way so that I can win.
Right.
That's not the point. The point is to listen, to understand.
Right.
And then another one is be willing to be wrong.
Ooh.
This one stinks, honestly.
Yeah.
So many times in our life that we've had these conversations, we've done all the first things. Like we've checked our motivations, we've cared about the person, we're sensitive to the timing, we know the place, we've given ourselves time to prepare for the conversation.
Yeah.
And then, he'll start talking and I realize, oh shoot, all of the things I had prepped, I'm actually wrong on them. And then I have to admit it.
Yeah.
But if he's
so
created
hard.
a safe emotional space for me, then I'm able to admit those things because I feel secure in our relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Also, this is sometimes this is the women, but I'll be honest, this one applies to me.
The little ADD.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That's absolutely right. My ADHD keeps me really opposite of this one, but really stick to one topic. If you can, don't choose this as an opportunity to bring up all the problems that you've had for the last, however long you've been married. Don't bring up things of the past. Stick to one topic. Okay, let's deal with this right now. And if we peacefully resolve this right now and we have the emotional bandwidth to move on to another topic, okay, then we can. But I know you and I were kind of similar on this. When we have multiple things to deal with, we just deal with them. Let's get through them. Let's talk about them. Let's seek to be understood. All that stuff. Because we just love to power through stuff. That's kind of like
practice.
We have had a lot of practice.
So it doesn't take as much emotional energy now that we've practiced because we know we're safe, in a safe place with safe people.
Yeah.
And we're able to kind of get through them a little quicker. I mean, practice makes progress in this.
Right.
In this communication and in this fighting fair.
Yeah.
Another thing with sticking to the topic, it's really tempting to go back to old issues and to say things like, oh, well, you were always doing this or that.
Right.
Or you never take out the trash.
Right.
So like when you start digging into it, you realize that's not even what we were talking about.
Right.
So it's really important to stick to the topic that you've kind of settled on is the main point.
And one of the things we learned real early on was, and this is gonna sound funny, never say always and never.
Yes.
Right? Because like that's not true.
Right.
You can't you always. Well,
you're always late for dinner.
Yeah,
no,
but
that's
is
impossible.
she or is he? Or you never do this for me.
Yeah.
And, well, is that true? And it might be true, but it's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's not a helpful thing to say. Another one is this: focus on the problem, not the person. That's a big deal because so many times as humans, we want to associate the problem with a person. And it's not always the case. Sometimes the problem is the person, but we have to make sure that we're addressing the problem so that it's not like a attack, right?
Yeah.
Because if we focus on the problem, it's okay. Let's remove you from the situation, remove you from the problem, and then you're like, okay, now we can attack this instead of attacking each other,
Right.
And this one's big too. Focus on behavior, not character. And this is less of a you message and more of an I message. And I'll tell you kind of what I mean by that. So if you're in an elevated conversation, it's a good practice to say, instead of saying a you message, which would be, well, you did this and you made me, you do this and you have this. Instead, turn it to say, hey, I feel that when you did this, this made me feel whatever. So like it's kind of a you statement, but it focuses
it's
more
about-
on you
And it's about
or me.
it's about the behavior.
Right.
When someone behaved a certain way, it made me feel
Right.
this way.
And it's not attacking the person, it's attacking the behavior.
Right. And
Yeah.
that brings us to another one, which is focus on the facts. Don't judge the motives.
Ooh, that one's hard.
Very hard. And it, especially if you are intense personalities, and especially when you're aggravated and you're angry.
Yeah,
It's really easy to assume the worst of someone.
it is.
And so if your spouse forgets to do something, saying something to the effect of, you just do that to aggravate me.
Yeah.
Or you do that because you know that I hate it. Like, that's attacking their motives.
Yeah.
And going back to, if you care about this person and you desire resolution, then do what's necessary to resolve it, which
Yeah.
is to not attack the motives.
Right.
Here's the last piece about the fighting fair that is literally the most important.
Yeah.
If you win the argument,
Mhm.
then you've lost.
So say that again, preacher.
So if you've won the argument, you've
Yeah.
lost.
So true.
This goes back to those, we bring a whole person in, we become, we're two people, we become one. And if we're one and one loses or one wins, it
Yeah.
negates it. So
Right.
we have to be willing to say we both need to come out winners in order for this to be a successful conversation.
100%.
So in order for it to be a successful conversation, we both have to be willing to say we want each other to win.
Yeah.
It's not about me winning as most important. And then the last piece of communication. So fighting fair, I mean, we're talking about women's needs and communication, but this is really for all relationships.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that having a gentle tone, a gentle spirit is very important. And there's a verse in 1 Peter 3 verses 1-4 that talks all about that and about having that gentle spirit.
Yeah.
And it has to do with our tone.
It really does.
If I say, "Oh, you look really nice today," it's very genuine. If I say, "Oh, you look nice today," I said the exact same thing,
Yep.
but it had very different tone and message.
Tone matters.
And so when you're communicating, if you say, "Hey, what's for dinner?" or "What's for dinner?" Like,
Yeah.
it's very aggressive unnecessarily. And
Yeah.
so just being aware that we want to speak in love.
Mhm.
We want to speak with a gentle spirit, especially to those that we're loving and that we're in a relationship with and in a marriage and committed to, and have been joined to. So it's
That's
really
really
important.
good. So the three things that women need, probably more so than anything else. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, but security,
Yep.
affection,
Mhm.
and communication.
Yep.
And those are super, super important. And fellas, those are the areas, let's just be real honest. Those are the areas we need to work on the most. We need to work on those areas to be able to provide that for our significant others and our spouses and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So let's talk about the men's needs a little bit.
And in classic form, the women's needs were very exhaustive, and the men's needs are going to be pretty short and sweet.
They're really short. They're really
So-
short.
Easy peasy. Tell us what guys need so that we can all learn and do better at it.
Yes. The one thing, probably the first thing, and this is the most. This sets the tone for the rest of the
Yeah.
things. The biggest need of every man is honor and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So respect is the currency of any man. If we feel respected, we will run through a wall for anyone who respects us
Mm-hmm.
because it's just a deep need. It's a man's need. He needs his significant other, his wife, his girlfriend to be his biggest cheerleader. I know this for me personally. When I know I've got you at my back, I feel like I can take on the world.
And I'm not a cheerleader type. Never been a cheerleader.
Nope.
So it does not mean that it has to be like sideline cheerleader. It just means I've got your back.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you want to think of it in a more, this my competitive side comes out. But basically it means like, hey, if you're going into battle, I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
Like, I've got your back. We can do this. You've got it. You go ahead. So it's not to minimize the role. It's about
100%.
that teamwork and trusting the man to lead and respecting him enough to say, I'm on your team. I've
Yeah.
got you.
And the way that I view our relationship, and this is not the case for everybody's relationship, but for ours, I see this more of like a lion and a lioness, where they go into battle.
Yeah.
They go into battle together. And I know you've got my back. And
Right.
when you have my back, it's like, now I can go into any battle. Like, I got
Right.
this. So how do we practically do that?
Right.
How can as a woman, how can they practically be the biggest cheerleader? How can they honor and respect?
Right.
Let's get practical with it. Ladies, this is for you. And this is so important. This first one, allow us to fail. Allow us to fail. We're not perfect. As much every man I know wants to be that knight in shining armor.
Right.
We want to be that. Do we always make it there? No. And mostly it's because of our own problems. It's not, but usually 99% of the time, it has nothing to do with y'all. That has everything to do with us. Something's
Mhm.
going on with us. We don't know how to communicate it. So allow us to fail, and then help us see where we failed in a loving way. By pointing it out and saying, look what you did again.
I told you so.
I told you so. Any of those things, it's never going to be received well from us, because usually we know we failed.
Yeah.
We know we've messed up. We know if you're unhappy with us, we hate that. At least all the guys I know,
Mhm.
we hate when we feel like we've let you down. We want somebody who can help us achieve our goals. Like, we have goals. Most men do. Like, most men are pretty driven. We want to accomplish things, right? We talked about it. We all want to fix things, and we all
Mhm.
want to help us accomplish our goals. I bet I would venture to say, whether you're in the auditorium right now or you're watching online, if you helped your man, if you helped him identify some goals for his life and you helped him achieve that, you would find so much loyalty
Mhm.
and so much love. And he would, I mean, most men already do this, but like, he would go to battle for you.
Yeah. And I think that can look like, hey, what do you want to do this year? Like, what are you interested in accomplishing this year? And maybe they say, I want to do Ironman or something, some sort of physical thing. And then you can say, okay, well, then I can do my part to make sure you're able to go and train and work out
Yeah.
and eat healthy. And
Yeah.
so it's just supporting. It's not that we make it happen for them, but we're helping to prepare the life so that they can accomplish those goals.
Yeah.
And that's part of cheering them on in that.
Yeah. Honor the man you want him to be, not the man he is. Speak to his potential, not his past. Speak to who he could be. Like, that's such a big deal.
It is.
Gideon was found in a wine press, right? He was hiding, but then he was called to the battlefield because of what the angel of the Lord told. He called him to.
Mhm.
Say, Gideon, you were a man of honor. You were a man of power and authority. Like, go be that. And it was like, all right, I guess I could, but I'm the smallest. Doesn't matter. If you got somebody who's behind you that can support you and lift you up, call out the greatness in him.
Mhm.
Call out the man you want him to be. And usually we rise up and we can achieve it. Women, you are the prophetess of your home. You are the prophet. You are the one who can speak the greatness out of your entire family, from your husband to your kids. You have the power over your entire home by your mouth.
That's why your words are so important.
Yes, that's why we talked about that. Men will rise to the occasion because they know that their wives have their backs and speak life over them. That's a big deal.
Mhm.
So number one, honor and respect are big to us. And number two, we kind of mentioned it, was support. The Bible's first adjective for women, or for the woman, was helper. Your man needs help. We all need
It said,
help.
it is not good for a man to be alone.
Right.
So
He may not say it.
he needs help.
We need help. And it's just supporting us, supporting our dreams. We talked about that, supporting what we want to accomplish. That's a big deal. We get more fulfillment out of accomplishing things than we do talking about things.
Yeah.
Right. It's just kind of it's how we're built. So support us. Be that support. And then the last thing, I'll just say it this way. There are some physical needs that men have.
Or you could even just say affection too.
Affection is a good way to put it.
We talked about the love languages.
Right.
And if y'all haven't taken a love language quiz, they're
Yeah,
online. You
they
can
are.
Google it and find it immediately. It's
Right.
very simple. But find out what your spouse's love languages are.
Mhm.
Because a lot of guys, generally, one of their love languages is physical touch.
Mhm.
And so that way, you know. And then if their other love language, their highest one would be words of affirmation,
Usually.
then that's a great indicator of like, hey, every word that I'm saying is carrying a lot of weight with them because it's important to them.
Yeah.
But men need the physical touch. They need the affection. They have love languages just like women.
Yeah.
So if you know better how to love them, then it's going to strengthen your relationship and
Yeah.
help them to feel.
And this
fulfilled.
is in specifically the need that men have that I'm just going to make sure that I'm being mindful that this is also online. If this was just going at auditorium, fellas, I'd be getting all into it, but not gonna do that here. But this is in the context of a marriage relationship,
Mhm.
what I'm talking about. And there can be affection without that in there.
Mhm.
And I'm specifically talking about what happens between married couples. And but it's not always that, like I like to say all the time. So like my love language, my number one is physical touch. That's way up there. And second, a little further down would be words of affirmation. So like touch my butt and tell me I'm pretty. You know what I mean? That's all I need in life. That's all I ever want. And then let's eat tacos together.
Yeah. I always joke that I feel like food should have been another love language.
I think so,
added
yeah.
to it.
For
'Cause I'm like,
for us,
that would be the
definitely.
only gift part that I'm really into. Like if you give me food
Yes.
or if you spend quality time with me at a Mexican restaurant or tell me that we're going to eat chips and salsa.
Yeah.
It all surrounds my love language.
Yeah. So I think there's so many important things that we have to realize, and I think being aware of your
Mhm.
spouse's needs, being aware of your significant other's needs, and understanding that it doesn't always mean that you will get your need met right away. But doing your best to meet their needs will pay off. It
Mhm.
will pay off. It's happened in our marriage. We've seen it happen in all the marriages that we're a part that we're around, that we've spoken into. We've given this advice for the last, however long we've been, probably the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. And I would say, in a marriage, we say things all the time like, I would die for that person.
Yeah.
Like, I love them. If you're willing to die for them, then be willing to live for them.
Yeah.
Be willing to live and do the small things to strengthen your relationship, to show them that you care and that you love.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be petty. If you love somebody enough to die for them, then it's worth living a life that shows them that you love them.
Yeah, that's so good, babe. Thank you so much for your wisdom on this. I'll always love hearing what you have to say, especially about relationships, because it's always been so good. I've learned so much from you.
I teach them how to do all these things. We've learned together a lot. Lots of trial and error, but we've learned.
And it's when we do fail, which we both do.
Absolutely.
It's being confident enough in who God's created you to be able to receive when the other person notices the failure and tries to help you with it, right?
When that's being in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
If there's nowhere to go, which there's not,
Yeah.
there's no other option, then the best thing that we can do is take with this gift that God's given us in our marriage and use it to the best of our abilities to
Yeah.
build each other up and to glorify God with
Yeah.
it.
I think that this will be the last thing. We'll close with this. I think the one thing that both men and women need is for their spouse to pray for them.
Yeah.
And pray with them.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's I know that's something that I have a hard time doing. You know what I mean? That's one of the things. I know how important it is, and I pray for you constantly, but I don't always pray with you, and with you together. So I want to make that challenge. If you have a significant other, praying together is one of the most intimate things that you can do. And so what I want to do, I want to challenge you to today, I don't know when you're watching this, but pray with your spouse. Pray for them always. You should, but pray with them. So if you're okay with it, babe, I'd like to do that right now.
Yeah.
And I want us to kind of come together and just pray. So I'm going to bring the microphone over,
okay.
lean over. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. I'll just pray with you.
Okay.
This is a little bit weird, but I don't care. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this time we've gotten to have together to do this podcast. Father, I just pray. I pray for Grace right now, God. You have given her so many gifts. You've given her so many dreams, God. And I just pray that in the season that we're both in, Father, I pray that you would give her peace, give her clarity on her direction, on the decisions that she makes. Father, I'm so grateful for the woman that she is, the mother that she is, the wife that she is. She is everything I've ever wanted in a spouse. And Father, I'm just so grateful that you've blessed me enough to steward this relationship and to steward this marriage. And God, I just pray that you would bless Grace today, that as she continues with her day, as she continues with her work and being a mom and getting us all ready for this trip that we're taking. And God, I thank you. I pray that you'd give her strength and give her grace, give her mercy, give her the anointing to be able to do what you've called her to do. Father, I'm just so grateful for her. I'm grateful for the gift that she is to your body, to the church, but also her gift, the gift she is to me, Father. I'm so grateful. I will do everything I can to steward her and to steward this relationship. Father, thank you for allowing me this honor, God, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Love you, babe.
I love you.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you don't have a home church, we'd love for you to join us on Sundays at 5 p.m. at 1411 East Admiral Doyle Drive in the Church on the Rock building. We'd love to connect you to what God's doing here at the church. Click on the link in the description or snap a picture of this QR code and join us for our coffee connection at 3:45 p.m. every Sunday here at the church to get to know us, what we're all about, and how you can get connected. We also believe that God calls us to be generous. If you'd like to give today, you can give online at communitychurchla.com/give. You can text an amount to 833-952-3290, or you can give by cash or check sent in to the address on the screen. Thank you so much for joining us for our online experience today. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation, and we hope to see you at church on Sunday at 5 p.m.